Japan, the third largest national economy in the world today, is facing a time bomb that is slowly eating its progress that could eventually hurt its economy in the near future. Since the 1990s, Japan has not been seeing a sustained growth in its economy. The reduced birth rates, an increasing aging population inequality between urban and rural areas, and high emigration rates are continuously killing one of the key drivers of the economy: demography. So why is inequality between urban and rural areas affecting this country's economy? What can be done to fix these issues? These are some of the questions that we'll be answering in today's video. We are just asking you to stay still till the end so that you do not miss any part of this video. Demography plays a very important role for any economy's survival. Many say that demography is what rules the world. The combination of the young and old workers and retirees can determine a country's economic future. Almost every country has a demographic soft spot where the majority of its population is of working age, so they are producing and consuming at the same time, which is very great for the economy. Demographics are very important in that the more people there are, the larger the economy is likely to be, and the more power and influence they're likely to wield on the global stage. And this is the reason why the US is a global leader. It's also why the European countries come together to influence the policies on a global level. Of course, that fact is very true, and that is why you will see most European countries dominating the list of the most advanced economies in the world. The case is starting to look very different for countries like Japan, Germany, and China. While today they might look like they are among the most advanced economies, their future actually looks fatal. In this case, Japan holds a medal in countries that are on the verge of going off. The reason? A declining working population. Japan's economy lies in stark contrast to its capital, Tokyo, the largest and most economically powerful city in the world, and this diversion is perhaps the most obvious example of a real economic problem that all advanced economies are quietly struggling with. Before we go deep into that, let's first have a shallow look of this city, Tokyo. It's a city that serves as Japan's economic center, as it is the seat of both the Japanese government and the Emperor of Japan. With its futuristic skyscrapers, unrivaled food scene, and wild nightlife, Tokyo is a rush of pure adrenaline. This vast and multifaceted city is famously a cutting edge, yet its ancient Buddhist temples, vintage tea houses, and peaceful gardens offer a serene escape, and a poignant reminder of the city's long history. Tokyo is home to more than 37 million people and has a GDP of over $2 trillion. It is a city that has developed nearby metropolitan centers like China, Gunma, Kanagawa, and Yokohama to form what most people collectively call the Tokyo Major Metropolitan Area, or the Kanto Major Metropolitan Area. No matter how it's defined for the sake of figures, the outcome is very evident. Japan is becoming a two-speed economy, with people in one city surging ahead of everybody else in rural areas and smaller regional areas. Japan and its Tokyo may be the most obvious examples. This is actually going to happen everywhere, and there's a good chance that it's only going to become worse in the next decade. The ongoing inequality between regional centers and certain select cities could become one of the strongest forces against sustained economic growth, just like it has been in Japan. Beyond just headline GDP figures, it can also attract lots of social problems whereby people feel they are being forced into overcrowded cities, where they'll live in the apartments just to stay in the part of the economy that is doing well. Yes, some people like the lifestyle of living in bustling metropolises, but it also hurts them too. This now brings us to the question: why is inequality between big cities and rural areas such a problem for the entire economy? One thing we all need to understand is that different regions having different levels of income is not a problem for the bigger part of the economy. The truth is that certain areas are much more expensive than others, and are also homes to various many industries that maximize the productivity of the workers. Just like we had mentioned a while ago, people are paid more but spending more for the same quality of goods and services, which in some way works itself out. In other words, economists will often try to adjust outpost figures using something we call the purchasing power parity to help account for this discrepancy. Real purchasing power parity figures are made using consumer price index figures, with the USA acting as a baseline. If the average cost of goods and services in an economy is cheaper than those in the USA, then its GDP will be adjusted up for purchasing power parity. Let's use Spain as an example. Spanish goods are cheaper than those found in the USA. They will get a lot more stuff for the few $1 trillion they have. And if the cost of goods and services in an economy is higher than it is in the USA, then GDP purchasing power parity will be adjusted down. The US is used as a baseline because it is remarkably very wealthy and a more productive country. So not many economies have their GDPs adjusted down for purchasing power parity. Most GDP figures that economists will work with, especially if they are involved in international macroeconomics, will be unadjusted nominal figures. This should have you gazing. Are they lazy to make the purchasing power parity adjustments? Our answer to you will be a big no. Why? Because the outright figures are usually more useful when economies interact with each other. If we have two nations, for example, then let's say they have some barriers in between them like tariffs or taxes on imports and exports. Then they wouldn't trade with each other and none would experience any problems in their economies. In the opposite, if the two economies were to interact, then the one that has more favorites is given more priorities by the people, which in the end would lead to problems. This is a very similar case with Tokyo. Tokyo is a city that is home to many jobs that on average pay more than jobs in rural areas and smaller cities and towns. Because of this high pay, people will choose to leave their rural areas and go to megacities like Tokyo so that they can earn more. However, even though they will be earning more, life in the city is always expensive. What does this mean for those who haven't relocated to the city yet? They choose not to go into the city, while those who are already in the city will have a hard time leaving it again, because it will become very hard to move back again, which only heightens affordability problems. Big cities are for smart people. Schools and companies are the primary drivers of innovation. The ability to share talent and ideas is much easier when people are closer together. So if people are not willing to make the lifestyle sacrifices necessary to live in such places, then the entire national or even global economy could suffer from the innovations that weren't made. The inequality between cities and rural areas will also create another problem that most advanced economies are facing: aging populations. Because life in the city is expensive, many families choose not to have children. For others, they will choose to move out of the major cities when they want to start a family, because buying a house big enough to raise children in regions like Tokyo is unbelievably so expensive. The output of this is a slow economy that could end up failing. The general truth of the matter is that birth rates in major cities around the world are significantly lower than in rural areas of the same countries. The declining birth rates in advanced economies don't just happen because people got richer. They happen because richer economies tend to be entirely focused around cities, and cities are difficult places to raise children. The continued growing number of aging populations and low birth rates has led to a low number of workers needed to work in industries and companies located in urban centers. Today, more than ever, there is less need for a lot of workers to be physically located in the same city or even the same country as where they work. Creating policies that encourage people to work remotely and companies to offer it as an option will help reduce the demand for housing around areas concentrated by industries. It will also reduce the demand for transport infrastructure if less people need to physically move in and out of the city centre every day. Even though this might work, it will also create another negative short-term side effect. You see, as people move towards regional areas, it will increase the demand for housing in those new areas. In turn, this will lead to increased prices of everything in the places they will have moved into. This can create some kind of housing and affordability issues that economists are worried about as they try to move people out of concentrated big cities in the first place. One thing we all must know is that as the real estate prices go up, the prices of goods and services also go up as well. So what should the policymakers do in such a case? They will be required to build out high-quality but high-density housing around megacities. By increasing the supply of housing, it will help alleviate the cost of most other essentials, and this could be quite pleasing for many families, only if they all agree to it. Enacting these policies is much easier when said than done. There are always dire consequences of the decisions we make. Even if economists choose to use them, most people will still highly resent. We have to all agree that these are difficult steps to take, and nobody really wants to take them. But eventually we will need metropolises that have always been the driving factor of the economy all over the world. But again, they are here again, slowly taking us back. What do you think needs to be done to help ailing countries like Japan to overcome future disparities? Please don't forget to leave your suggestions in the comment box below. Here marks the end of our video today. We hope you guys enjoyed and learned something from it. Please don't forget to send us those likes. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit on the notification bell so that you can get notified on any of our future uploads. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.